Hello, YouTube universe and all its inhabitants. It's me again, Monique Madden, financial planner, and today's topic will be very likely the hottest topic I ever deal with families, and that is budgeting. Budgeting is incredibly difficult for a lot of people, and there's some pretty good reasons why. One of which is it's not taught anywhere, and it used to be. It used to be that we'd discuss these things either in sociology in high school or in home economics or in other, maybe just around the household table with your parents. And I don't know why we shy away from these discussions, but we do. So we're thrown into the world of adulthood and we're thrown in blindly. So apart from just the fact that we're not really taught very much of this, one of the things I try to tell people is that we do really have very short memories when it comes to what we spend. If I asked you, for instance, to name the last 5 things that you bought, certainly I couldn't do that if that was asked of me. So clearly these transactions are so automatic and they're not important to us anymore, and they're harder and harder to remember, which means it's more and more likely that we're going to overspend. The other thing that I think is fundamentally difficult for most people is not the idea that life is expensive. We all appreciate that life is expensive. But I think fundamentally one of the problems is that we think in terms of our gross or pre-tax dollars, but we live in net after-tax dollars. And I'm going to show you an example of that in a few minutes through a PowerPoint presentation. But that discrepancy, at the very lowest levels of income is about a 20% difference. And at the very highest, it's more than half. Greater than 50% of your income goes to taxes. So that one item can certainly make a big difference. And just think about it anecdotally. If you were to talk to your friends and they landed a new position, they can tell you nearly to the penny what their salary will be because they've signed a contract for it. Ask them what they spend in a month and a year, nobody knows anything. So it's exceedingly difficult for people to rationalize the difference between what they earn and what they can afford to spend, and that's exactly what I'm going to teach you today.
So let's look at some practical examples when it comes to budgeting. What I like to do is coach my clients to think of their monies as 2 distinct pieces. So divide your gross earnings, which again is pre-tax earnings, into one pot that would hold 60% and another pot that would hold 40%. And the 60% pot is what we're going to be focusing on today, and that basically is all of your spending and debt payments. Now, the interesting thing about spending and debt is that they're connected when maybe you might not think that they would be connected. The truth is, the more that you're carrying by way of debt, the less you can spend today. Now, just so you know, I don't tend to demonize debts. There's an awful lot of people who are in debt through no fault of their own or through life circumstance. I don't see a lot of people going into debt having a particularly good time of it. It's usually a health matter, a divorce, perhaps some bad habits, but not too many people going into debt because they've made it rain at a club. So that's why I tend not to be particularly harsh when it comes to debts. But debt is really important when it comes to the continuum with spending, because as long as you're paying for errors in the past, it will affect your standard of living today. The other thing you want to keep in mind, of course, is that if your debts exceed 40% of your gross income, then the banks will kind of stop talking to you. That's sort of their upper limit of the kind of client that they will continue to assist with consolidation loans and mortgages and things like that. So if your total debt payments are approaching that level, you may very well need to go to a credit counselor. So let's focus then again on the 60% of your gross income. So you would simply do an easy calculation like I've shown you here, where you take 60% of your gross income, you convert that to a monthly budget target, and we'll do an example of this in a minute. And then you subtract your monthly debt payments to arrive at your total target monthly budget. So let's do a practical second. If you can take this figure, whatever it comes out to for your family, and produce a budget that doesn't exceed $4,100 a month, then you know you're living within your means. And you should think, by the way, that $4,100, I'm not asking clients to live by austerity measures. If you have $4,100 a month that you're allowed to spend, I say go and develop the greatest standard of living you can on that money. If you choose, the classic example I give is if you choose to take public transit and get housekeeping, so be it. You're using and enjoying your hard-earned income best you can. And I would certainly encourage households to have these conversations. So when you're creating that sustainable budget, more often than not, you're going to exceed the target monthly budget, which in this cases of this example was $4,100 per month. So to do it again, you would need to go back to basics. Your fixed costs are really, shelter, food, clothing, transportation, daycare if you have a family. In other words, you need to have a roof over your head, you need to have food in your stomach, you need to have a way to get to work, and you shouldn't arrive naked. Those are your fixed costs. I don't care what the teenagers in your life say, technology is not a fixed cost. It's not a necessity. It, in my opinion, comes under discretionary. Nobody needs Wi-Fi in their home if they can't afford it. There's plenty of places in the public where you can get it. Libraries, malls, restaurants, your own workplace, there's lots of places. So I certainly put technology under a discretionary cost, along with all of your entertainment and personal care and things like that. Remember too, as you're developing your budget, that your budget reflects your values. Numbers don't lie. If you are investing a lot of money in programs for your children, and that's consistent with your values, that's wonderful. You're investing well. If you see from when you're doing your budget that you have a huge budget for something that's not important to you, that's a great topic for a conversation with your partner and maybe some changes in the future. So next time, we're going to be focusing on the 40% of this graph, which is the taxes and savings, and how those two are connected. So if you need more information, please contact me. My phone number and my email address are here. You have my website. I'm on Twitter. Please don't hesitate to reach out. I'd love to continue the conversation.
So thanks everyone for your time and attention. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at monmad, M-O-N-M-A-D. And please leave comments on this video so that I know what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong. Please be gentle. And future topics that would be of interest to you. Thanks very much and have a great day.